Hi everybody, Diana here at Heartfelt Creatives. There we go. Had something on my screen that wouldn't go away. Hi everybody, Diana here at Heartfelt Creative. I hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to bring you a little video. It's a little project video. It's kind of utilitarian. It's completely no-sew, but you can use it for your sewing every day. Now, some of you might have seen something similar like this before. I've been making mine for about 7 or 8 years now. And I do something a little bit different, and I'll show you what my original idea looked like, which is different from even what I do now and what you may have seen some ideas now, but they're design wall boards. Now, about 7 or 8 years ago, I used to do a lot of designing for knit and crochet and my quilts. And I liked to do work in the evening in the living room so I could be with my husband, my family, right? But I didn't have anything to take things with. I didn't have a design wall where I could play around with stuff and put pins and things and stuff. I didn't have anything like that. I have my big design wall here. Like I have a full wall here covered with Fons and Porter's design wall cloth, which I'm going to show you because I use that to make these smaller ones. And so, you know, I can play and do that all day here in the studio room, but I couldn't do it up front. So this piece I have on my wall here, it's like 10 years old. I've had it for a long time. They last forever. So when I went to a local craft store one day, I found they had packets of like 6 of these small painting canvases, right? I don't know if they're good quality for painters or not. Don't ask me those questions. I have no idea. But I thought, oh, you know what? That kind of reminded me of a tray a little bit. And I thought, oh, I could put pins in here. So what I did, I brought a pack home because they were on sale and I had a coupon. And I duct taped myself a little Ziploc bag back here, a little zippy bag. So I could put little bits and pieces and bobs and things that I needed to do in here to carry it around with me, or I could take it in the car with me or whatever. And I didn't do anything to this, except I took a Sharpie and I made myself some grid lines because the big design wall that I have has grid lines on it. And I find them really helpful for, not necessarily for measuring because they're not quite a perfect measurement all the time, but for getting things horizontal or vertical, or giving myself like a visual idea of what a 6x6 square would look like, or an 8x8, whatever. And so I did that in here, but then I was finding that the pen was kind of not quite right. And it was kind of smearing. And I thought, oh, that's not good. And then one night I sat down and I started putting pins in here to pin some things on here and pinned my leg. You know, I live and learn, right? So this was not my best idea, but I used it for a while. It was what it was when I used it. But then I saw that it's been a few years ago now, because I've only known about her for a few years, that Lori Holt makes these great design boards with foam core. Brilliant idea. And I think hers are even commercially made. So if you don't even want to go to the trouble of making them, you could probably go find hers pre-made. But she does something, but to trim the edges, she uses fabric. She makes binding to do that. And I'm just like, no, that's too much trouble for me personally. It's super pretty. It doesn't make it any more or less functional, but it's just not my deal to spend that kind of time on something that utilitarian. So I went and got myself some boards. This has been a long time ago. It's been at least 4 years ago. And I thought, how can I do these and still get my grid lines, not have to make binding. And so about that time, I noticed at this same craft store, one of my favorite things in the world, duct tape. Everybody knows it, the silver stuff. Your dad always had it in his toolbox. Come on, we all remember. I have it by the tons. You can get it in patterns, in bright, pretty colors. Like I have an orange, I have a teal, I have a pink. You can get it, like I said, in patterns and things. So you can get it by the tons. And once you put this on something, you all know it ain't going nowhere. So I thought, well, gosh, could I use that on the edges of my boards? And I thought I could. Now, on the ones I had seen, the board had a piece of batting on it. So to give your piece of fabric something to stick to, right? See, that's not going anywhere. And that was the idea of a design wall, is that it was made of something that nothing would fall off of. And I had seen different designers make their own and attach big pieces of literal wall board to their walls and stuff. And then I found a product by one of my favorite folks, Fons and Porter. They have a design wall that comes in a package like this. Gosh, I don't know how much it is, guys, because I suspect when I bought mine, it could be a little bit more now because time has gone by. I really don't know. But it is 60 inches by 72 inches. I have a whole one on that wall right there. I have it marked off in some special ways for what I do. I can put a full 60 by 60 quilt, even a 70 by 70 quilt on there. No, I can't do the 70s, but I can do a full 60 by 60 quilt on there, lay out the whole thing. I love it. I keep my, like right now, if I could show you, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 blocks up there for different projects I have going. I love it. If you have a full wall in your home, get yourself one of these. You will love it. I promise you, it's so great if you're a quilter, even if you're not a quilter. If you do any kind of stitching, being able to lay your pattern pieces out on a wall like that is super, super helpful. But I thought, you know what? I was looking at it one day and I thought, you know, what if I did something like that on foam core and then use the duct tape? So that's basically what I've done. So let me bring up the piece of design wall. I've been using this piece of design wall, Fons and Porter design wall, for a few years now because I make these, I give them away as gifts and things. All I do on the back is I usually mark the size and I put my initials on there. So when I go, you know, when I travel to events and stuff, I always know which ones of these I need to take home with me because a lot of people use things like this. So this is the Fons and Porter design wall. Look, it's got grommets across the top. So you can hang it across the top. And that's what I have. I have little cup hooks up there. And I have this hung on there just like it was like a bath curtain. I don't have it taped down or anything. It just is free floating. So I can take it off if I want to. If I need to replace it, like I said, that thing's 8 or 10 years old. So, I mean, I've not taken it down. But the rest of it, the entire piece on the front of it is, it's not batting, but it's a soft, fuzzy, and it's thin. So it's really thin. It's like a bath curtain, kind of, but soft and fuzzy, and your stuff just sticks to it. But see how you can see the lines through it? That's because on the back, their brilliant idea was to print the lines on like a plastic liner type scenario so that it shows through to the front, but it doesn't wear away. And that was my problem when I was using a marking pen and all. It was wearing away over time. It was smudging a little bit. Well, the way I use this, it never smudges because my lines are back here and it's waterproof. And they come through to the front. So I start on one edge and I start cutting when I make my things. So we're going to get into now, how do I make my little design boards? Now, I use them still in a way where I don't just put my stuff on it, carry it over to my sewing machine and sew from it, which is a great idea because it keeps everything there. I mean, I do use them that way from time to time, but what I use mine for is for laying out a block. When I'm here and I'm trying to lay a block out and figure out what I want to do with it, or how it's going to go together, or what color fabrics I want to put together, I lay my pieces out on here And then I can see it. And I know if I want to like pick it up and look at it a little bit, it's not going anywhere, right? And then the other thing I use, especially the smaller rectangular one for, is applique. I do a lot of machine applique and I do a lot of machine embroidery applique. And so I will lay my embroidery pieces on here, take those over to my machine. I can even put little sticky notes down these blocks and have my pieces underneath so I know what is what as far as size goes. I can take that right over to my embroidery machine. As I go, as the instructions tell me to lay down my pieces, I know exactly what I need to pick up. And I love this size for that because it's not too big. It fits over by my machine. So I'm going to take you through how to make your own. Okay, it's very inexpensive. The most expensive thing you will buy is that piece of design wall from Fons and Porter. Now, I don't know if other companies make something like that. I've just never bothered to look because I use that one. I love it. So that will be the most expensive thing you'll get to buy, but you can make a ton of these, so you could give them away to your sewy friends at the holidays, give them their own little design boards, maybe do it in some duct tape that is in holiday colors or holiday print, whatever. Or you can make a few of these and you still have a big enough piece of design wall left with the grommets at the top that you could put yourself a little design wall up on the wall as well. Now, there's another size I do these with because your boards come, this is a 22 by 28 inch board. It has this glossy side. I always, if you get one that has a glossy side, I always put this on the back or the bottom. So you can see on these, the glossy side is on the bottom there because it's got that reflection on it. And then the other side is this, just the matte foam core, right? So this size is 22 by 28. That's the size I can get in my area. So that's the size I buy. They come in a pack of 2. Sometimes they come in a larger pack. But let's say I did not have a wall that I could put a design wall on. I don't have a freed up space. I'm fortunate and do. But let's say I didn't. Let's say you don't. But you like the idea of having something large enough to lay out a quilt. Get yourself a design wall, get yourself some of these, and make several of these at full size. Lay them out on the floor in the living room, the bedroom, the rec room, whatever, wherever you sew, wherever you have space on the floor to do that. And make your design wall on the floor just in several pieces. That way you can pick it all up, put it all together, tie something around it to hold them together. Put them away in the closet or under the bed or wherever you want to put them when you're done with them, but they're always available for you. And I like to take a big one with me when I go to events because I know I can lay out a couple of things side by side on one of these big ones. So when I go to events, I take a big one, I take a 14 by 14, and I take an 8 by 14. Or I might even take a couple of these smaller ones, but if I need a bigger one, like if I need a bigger one because I'm going to demonstrate something and I need to prop this up so that others can see things laid out on a design board, I take this bigger one with me then because that makes it great for demonstrations. So how do we make this? It's so easy, guys. It's just so easy. So all I do is I take my big piece of board, and because I know it's 28 inches across, I make a mark halfway down at the 14-inch line, and I end up with 2 pieces, 14 by 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that is the 14. 14 by 22 because the other edge is 22 inches. So I come up with 2 pieces like that. So I know that most of my blocks usually are small, to roughly 12, 13, 14 inches. I don't make too many quilts. Sorry, I have hairs in my eye from my bangs. They're growing out. I don't have too many blocks in the 16 to 18 inch range, which I know those big, huge jumbo blocks are, sorry, now I'm itching. Gosh, oh, what's going on? It's Monday. What can I say? I don't know if you do those jumbo blocks yourself, but I know that they're really popular right now. So you could technically, instead of cutting it in half at 14 inches, you could slide it over and make yourself an 18-inch one. That way, you know, you would have a square, end up with a square or a rectangle that was big enough to hold a block that size. That would be fine. The idea is there are no rules in how big or small you make these. Make the size that fits what you do when you sew, when you quilt, okay? Or when you craft and need something like this. There's no rules in that. The sizes I make are the sizes that work for me, right? So that's what we do. All right, so things you're going to need. Duct tape, whatever color or pattern you like, or multiple colors and patterns. Whoever thought I would have a ton of duct tape in my room, but I do. An old rotary cutter blade. You may only have one handle, but an old blade. Can I just recommend that you keep a few of your old blades around? When you take one blade out of your good rotary cutter that you use for your fabric, put that in, take an old one, throw it away, you know, recycle, get rid of it, and then move through them, because these work so great for anything you need to cut that a rotary cutter works well with, but you don't want to use your fabric one, right? But this still cuts tons of stuff. Or if you have what we used to call a box cutter, it had a little thumb thing that would come out and it'd have a angled knife on the end for cutting open box lids. If you have one of those, that works for this as well. But I would not use don't use your good one, right? Remember, don't use that one. Grab yourself an old one, but keep some of these old blades around because they're really helpful. And then you're going to need a pair of scissors that are marked paper or anything but fabric, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, so I have a pair of those. I also have a Sharpie, and I have a pen or a pencil. And if you have it available, a little bit of 505 spray or any kind of temporary glue spray is fine, or permanent. I just don't happen to have permanent in my room, but and it's fine that this is for fabric. It won't make a difference. You just need a tiny bit of it to kind of help hold things down while you're taping it. That's all. All righty. So I'm going to flip the camera, and this is going to be a little interesting. Let me see. Okay, this might be a little difficult for you to see all in one picture, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, let me flip the camera now. Okay, so we're going to cut this. Here's our whole piece. So I know you can see the whole piece in this picture. You can't see from edge to edge this way, but you can this way. Okay. All righty. So what I want to do is I want to line this up on my mat where I am completely even on the horizontal. See, I know you can't see that. Okay, here we go. So that I have a completely level horizontal, and I have a completely lined up vertical line here, okay? And then I'm gonna count over, let me make sure I get that, 14. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 is right there. I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to give myself a little mark there. Okay. Now, so that you can kind of see this, I'm going to adjust it a little bit. There, you can see now. Alrighty, so now I'm going to take my template ruler and I'm going to put that mark on a line, just makes it easier. And I'm going to line it up, straight up and down this way. I'm going to take my old cutter. Oh, first of all, I should be doing this. I cut from the shiny side, and I'll show you why here in a second. Let me recalculate where that mark is. There's a reason I cut it from the shiny side. So I put myself a mark there, and then I line up my ruler, And then I take my old rotary cutter and I cut. And you may have to give a little bit of a push on this. But the reason I do it from this shiny side is because it is harder to puncture through. And puncturing through from this side is super easy. But, okay, so now on this side, I'm just going to take and line up my mark again because I didn't get all the way through at one point. So you may need to do your cut from both sides. And if you're off a teeny bit, don't get worried about it. It's no big deal. Okay, so there. Now I'm through everything. It had just missed a little bit. No biggie. Alrighty, so now I've got myself a 14 by 14 board. There we go. Now I'm going to leave my shiny side facing down on my mat and on either side. So I'm going to do, because it's going to be easier for you to see me do this one, I'm going to do this one in the camera. So now what I do is I bring in my big piece of design wall fabric. And I put it up on my cutting table. And I usually have to take my tape and plop it down to kind of hold it down. I don't use this first row of blocks here for measuring because they're not, since they're not completely exact, I can't put it exactly on a line and exactly on a line on all four sides. It's really, really close, but it's not exact. So I'm just lining this up on four sides on as close as I can to the given lines. Then I'm going to take my marking pen again. I'm just using a friction pen here, and I'm going to make a mark down both sides. And you have to make it kind of heavy, especially if you're on a line and you're using a black pen. I should be using a different color pen. I should be using red or blue or something that's a little easier to see. All right, now, yep, now I can see here's an end, here's an end, here's end, and here's an end. So I've got a good idea of where I need to cut. Then I'm going to come in again, still with my old rotary cutter and one of my rulers, and I'm going to find my bottom edge and my top edge. And I'm just going to cut it right off. Now I'm going to come across the top. Now that ruler's not quite where this one is. This one. Okie dokie. Right there. And like I said, this piece I don't use, so I get rid of it. If you find a way to use it and not waste it, please let me know. And now I'm going to come down to this side. And again, I'm going to make myself a cut. I'm going to end up with a little bit right there. And you'll notice you'll have to pull a little bit on it sometimes because it wants to stick together a little bit. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to just want to remeasure because I can't see my bottom. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure I knew where I was at. All righty. All right. So now I have myself a piece of design wall cut out. And this piece I can fold and put away, or as I do, I plop it on the floor because I'm not done making them yet. And I'm going to come around with my scissors and I'm going to snip off. Yeah, see, those aren't working on this because those are really old yucky scissors. There we go. I'm just going to trim off any fluff there. So now the one thing you can tell on here is that because this comes folded up, it's not really flat. When you hang it on your wall, all of this crease will fall out of it. So what I do at this point, I bring in my board. I've got my shiny side towards the bottom, And I turn it so that I can see those marks, the plasticky side. I take a little bit of 505 right down the edge, just a tiny bit, or right down the middle, tiny, tiny, tiny bit. I flip it over, give it my best lineup, and then I start smoothing out where I have wrinkles. They may not all go away. It's not that big a deal, guys, really. It's not. But I get it all nice and pressed down. So now while I'm taping it, the board's not going anywhere. Then I bring back in my ruler and a pen, and I come in 1/4 of an inch. So right there is my 1/4 of an inch line. And I give myself some little tick marks along here. Because when I do that on all 4 sides, come in 1/4 of an inch. There we go. Now I'm going to make mine just a tiny over 1/4 on this side because my fabric is a little short right there. And I made a whole line. I usually just do tick marks, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to line up at 1/4 inch all the way across. Give myself some tick marks. Excellent, there we go. And then on my last side. Because when I put my duct tape on, if you'll notice, I'll bring in my finished board here in a second for you to see. When I do these, I don't want, see how much tape is on the back? I don't want this much tape or another inch of tape on my front. I want this to be a very thin border. So I have a lot of space. Like I know here I can see a square, a 4-patch, a 4-patch, so I could put 3, 4 patches there. I kind of can see that. I don't want my tape covering up a bunch of my board. That's a personal preference for me. So I only come in 1/4 of an inch. Why did I choose 1/4 inch? Of course, because quilters always use 1/4 of an inch. And then once I've got that marked, I take my duct tape. You know, as much as I love it, duct tape and I are not friends. I can't cut it with my fingers, not to save my life. So what I do is I take it and I stick it here on the edge. Let's see. There we go. Stick it here on the edge and I just, oh, see, I'm really bad at getting it going. And I pull out a good amount, at least 14 inches, if not more. And I would say do more. And then what I'm going to do, because you don't want this sticking to your table, I bring my board out here so it's hanging over my edge just a little bit. And I don't try to line up edge to edge. That's why I do it longer so that I have some like givey tabs here on the end. So what I'm going to do is I kind of line it up right on those marks that I made that were 1/4 inch. And I just get it so it's tapped down, and then I turn it over and I give it a good press. I bring everything over slowly. And if you get a wrinkle in it, don't worry, that's kind of the thing with duct tape. It tends to want to do that. And then I pull it back over and I really press that. Then what I do with my cutter is I just come in and I cut those tabs off. I don't try to make them nice and fold them over because that's just adding bulk and stuff that I don't want to have to deal with. There we go. And now I'm going to do that on my next side. And I do my 2 long sides first and my 2 short sides last. Is that a hard and fast rule? Absolutely not. Yeah, it makes noise. It surely does. But that's duct tape for you. Okay, I bring my board back out to my edge. I line up on my little tick marks that I made and give it a little smooth, tip it over, and then I start pasting it down. I come back in here. And so I'm not having to do any sewing. I've got my nice marks on here now that I can see for using them for lineup. Like I said, I don't use them for measuring at all. But I certainly do use them for like lining up on a horizontal or a vertical line, or basically figuring out that, yeah, that's about a 4 patch right there, or that could be, you know, a rectangle, whatever. It gives me kind of an idea, but I don't use it for exact measurements at all. Now I'm going to do my first short edge. And if you get your tape all messed up, sometimes you can undo it, sometimes you can't. I've been known to have little bits of this tape in the garbage because it got all stuck together. Alrighty, now I'm going to line up on this little line. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. Just lightly stick that there, stick that there. Roll it over, give it a good press. Now I'm just going to cut off my edges. And if I accidentally cut the edge of the tape, like when I'm cutting right here, if I accidentally cut this edge, I don't care. I mean, actually, you can see right there, I cut my edge. I don't care. It's still all stuck on there. It's not ever caused me a problem. I mean, you know, I try to be really good about that stuff, but I'm not going to let it make me crazy if it's off a little bit for something that's utilitarian like this, that, you know, in the end is not going to cause a problem. And here's our last one, and I've just matched up my line. Flip, pull, press that down, press that down. Cut my other side. Close my rotary cutter, and presto changeo, I have, let me pull my camera back down so you can see. Very good. So I have myself a little design wall, a mini design wall now, and I really do love this size for applique. As you can see, you can put your pieces on it, kind of line up, take it over, you know what you're going to do with it. You can lay out your block on it. You can lay out your different, and see, it doesn't, if I lift it up, you can't really see, but it's not going anywhere. Let me flip the camera back around. So if I lift it up, my fabric's not going anywhere. And with this 14 by 14 size one, let me flip the camera one more time. With this one, what is nice, because of the size, I can see right there I have a 6 by 6 block. Cool. I know generally now, like that would be the center. So if I'm, regardless of my size, I can use this block as my center to work out from. So it's just really nice. And like I said, on this one, when I'm doing applique, especially machine applique, where things are numbered by size, like 3.5 by 3 or 2 by 2.5, whatever it is, I will take one row at the top, whatever I have to lay out, and I'll put my little sticky notes on there, and I'll write on there the size. So I know that the cut pieces underneath it align with that, and I know what I'm using it for when I take it over to my embroidery machine. So that is how you do any size of these little boards that you want to do. Like I said, the most expensive thing that you'll purchase, because I think a pack of 2 of these was like $3 or $4, maybe. It might have been less than that. It was this particular brand. It doesn't matter the brand. I will tell you, in case you're curious, that these that I use are 1/8 of an inch thick. If you want them thicker and you can find them thicker, you can use any thickness. Anything thinner than 1/8 of an inch, I don't even know if they make thinner of 1/8 of an inch, but if they do, I'm not sure those will hold up. They might be too flimsy, but if 1/8 of an inch holds up really well for you. So the most expensive thing you'll need to find, and I'm sure you can probably order this on Amazon, or you can probably get it. I know you can get it here in the US at Joann's. You might be able to get it at Michael's. I don't know. You might be able to get it at Hobby Lobby. I don't know. Or you might find something like this, right? I've shown you what it looks like on the front and the back, so you know what you're looking for. This will be the most expensive thing you buy, but you can make a ton of these, or you can make several small ones and get yourself still a pretty sized design wall piece to put on a wall if you want to, or you can make some of these small ones and make yourself a few of these bigger ones if you need to lay them out on the floor, or if you need them for display purposes or demonstration purposes when you go off to events, because we're all getting ready to go off to events again. How nice is that? So I hope you enjoyed. I've been wanting to do this video since before I got sick 2 years ago. So since long before then. But when I was doing it then, I was using the little, those little canvases I showed you at the beginning. So it wouldn't have probably worked. I would have had to redo the video anyway. But so you need your design boards, or you need your foam core boards. You need your design wall fabric, a little bit of spray adhesive, any kind will do, an old rotary cutter, ruler, marker, and why the Sharpie? Because I use the Sharpie to mark on the back my size and my initials. You could put your name if you want, but nobody else I know has my initials, so I just put my initials. And you need some duct tape. That's all you need, folks. So I hope you find these helpful, and you can always leave a comment here if you have any questions. You can always also click the subscribe button if you'd like to see more of my videos. They're usually more so intensive than this one, but this has to do with what we do as stitchers and quilters, so I thought you would enjoy it. And you can hit that little bell, click that little bell, and you'll get notified whenever I put out new content. All right, thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. See you all later. Bye for now.